Hi, my name is Jamie. I just wanted to make a video saying hello and that Jon Scott has been a huge blessing throughout our CPS case, and he will do everything in his power to get you through the case and meet your case goals. And I can't thank you enough. That's my son, one of them. And now my case is closed and no more CPS. Yay! 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 So thank you so much. I highly recommend him, and I can't say thank you enough. So thank you. All right, bye.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Holcomb. I am a client of Mr. Jon Scott with returnmychild.com. I am very pleased with his service. He has helped me greatly working to get my children back. I'm thrilled with the results so far, and I look forward to continuing working with him in the pursuit of justice for my children.
Hi, my name is Beverly V, and I'm doing a video testimony for Mr. Jon Scott. Mr. Jon Scott has helped me work my CPS case. CPS has taken both of my children. Both of my children are special needs. Their special needs have been denied. They're not getting the proper therapy they need. A lot of my rights have been denied in this court. I've had my First Amendment, my Fourth Amendment, my HIPAA rights, my parental rights, and now my visitation rights being obstructed in this court. I am in backwards. My husband is a doctor, so everybody's siding with him, even though he's the one that admitted in court to drugging my children. I have been a stay-at-home mom for 11 years, handling both of my kids' disabilities and not having an issue with it, but apparently I'm the bad mom because I'm the stay-at-home mom. I am in backwards. I am at risk of losing my children. And then I found Mr. Scott. My attorney was not working for me. He wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing. And right before court last time, Mr. Jon Scott made my attorney work. Mr. Scott goes in quietly behind the scenes and he makes the people work for you. And he flips things around. He gets you where your rights matter, where you're getting your rights. And that is an important issue in this court, especially with all the perjury, fraud, and lies that continually go on, because that's how CPS trains their agents. We need people like Mr. Scott to come in there and straighten out these courts, or we wouldn't have a prayer on getting our children back. I recommend Mr. Scott to anybody that's dealing with CPS in any way, shape, or form. I highly recommend him, and I would be lost without him. I would never even have a chance to get my kids back without him. So that's all I have to say. He's wonderful, and I appreciate him.
I was gonna say, y'all can stay in here.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
I hired returnmychild.com to
help me with my CPS case. They did get the criminal charges dismissed and dropped. Hopefully I'll get reunification with my daughter soon. Thank you. I would recommend them to anybody.
Hello, my name's Daniel O. Just got off the phone with John a little bit ago. One word is he's very thorough, even in his initial evaluations and questions. 100% satisfied, completely satisfied, really. Really exceeded all expectations that I had. I thought it was just going to be a couple quick answers. Thought he was just going to read what I had wrote and submitted to him. But he really took the time and the energy to get to know this personal case on its own. And is always very respectful of the time and everything like that. Very respectful man, very honest man, and he does his job very thoroughly, and he's really, really one of the good ones. He's very, very much one of the good ones, and I can't wait to start working with him. Hey guys, my name's Daniel. I have retained the services of John and his people. So far it's been really great. He has consulted with us every step of the way. When we had told our attorneys about his services being retained, they were very hesitant at first. After consulting with John and just really telling our attorneys a clearer picture of why we retained him and all of that, their attitudes completely changed. They're completely on board now, and I can't really say enough good things about John and his team. They're very good for us. They've helped us tremendously, even in the littlest things. There are some tasks that we've had to do on our end. We've completed them, and John has consulted with us and let us know some of the tasks that would be beneficial in the case. And he's just always been there every step of the way. Very much like a friendly friend. So, yeah.
We had reached out to Jon Scott a couple months ago to get some hope and help, and he has been a great help. He has been keeping tasks for my son to do. We had a lawyer that said that my son was mentally unstable in front of the judge. Since then, my son, at the recommendation of Jon Scott, did a grievance toward her, and she has now been discharged from the case. Jon Scott has been doing a lot of keeping records of everything and working with our lawyers, and it's been a blessing in terms of just a sound mind on this. And I do recommend that you would use Jon Scott in the future.
Hi, my name's Melinda. I just wanted to say hello to everybody and tell you that Jon Scott's been a blessing in our life. Here's 2 of my 3 kids that have made it back home, and we're happy to have them home. And he will do everything in his power to help you get through your case. We just wanted to let you know that I highly recommend him. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Jon Scott. Thank you and your team for bringing us home.
We really appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you for bringing us home, Lisa. Say thank you, Lisa. Bring
Thank
us
you.
home.
So Jon Scott and his team, they together bring you guys home. Today, you guys, how do you guys feel?
Good. happy.
Happy to come home?
Yep.
Hello, my name is Yalika S., and I want to say thank you to Mr. Jon Scott and his staff over at the Return My Child organization. I had my children taken from me a little while back, and ever since Mr. Scott and his team have been on my case, they've been working tirelessly to have my children returned back to me. I would recommend them to anyone who's in my situation, who's had their children taken away by the CPS bandits / thugs. I would give Mr. Scott and his staff a A+ because they do such good work. They're so experienced at what they do. They've been doing this for a while now. And I am so happy and so pleased with the service that I've been given. Thanks and good day.
The amount of peace instantly that I got after just hearing the investigator's voice and the words that he stated, I knew my family mattered. I knew the language that I had been speaking for the past 24 months, somebody finally understood it, and that they were going to be just as much involved in this case as if it was their own. Be just as much involved in this case as if it was their own.
My name is Joan S., and I'm the maternal grandmother of my 3 grandchildren who were removed from my care without any investigation or due process, and I was told that grandparents have no legal rights. I had my interview with Jon Scott and was so impressed by how professional he was. He's such a good listener, and he listened intently to what I had to say and asked some really excellent questions to further his understanding of the situation that I was facing. I believe he has really great knowledge of the CPS system, and though he made no promises, I have complete confidence in his ability to fight for my rights. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Hi, my name is Emily. I am the parent of a deaf and autistic 7-year-old daughter who was wrongfully removed. I've got private investigator, Jon Scott, who will be helping me with my case because it's fairly complicated and there are a bunch of things that play into it. I'm confident that he'll be able to help me, and it was very relieving to hear that he's got experience in dealing with special needs children, especially with those who have autism, because that's some of the difficulty that I'm experiencing is not everybody's as familiar with those on the autism spectrum. I feel confident that he's going to be able to kind of help, and I really hope we can get this resolved. I appreciated his urgency, and he seems like a very good, genuine guy, so I'm excited to have him on my team.
Hello, my name is Karen Crumley. I want to thank Jon Scott and his capable team of investigators for doing their very good work on my daughter and her husband Zach's case. Their child was taken away in January, and they were put in jail for kidnapping their own daughter in Minnesota. And Mr. Scott has actually gone through and been very good at collecting evidence for us. He has been a good source of information. He has provided tasks for us to make sure that things go well. He has made sure that the attorneys are doing their job and not pretending to do their jobs. We want to make sure that things go smoothly for our children, and he is helping us do that. And I want to thank you again for your excellent service. And I know my children are just as happy as we are. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Michael Landon. My grandchildren were taken from our daughter by Child Protective Services because of something that their father had done. In spite of her not knowing about what happened until afterwards, CPS has treated her as an equally guilty party and terminated her parental rights. Jon has given our family hope regarding getting our grandchildren returned to their mother and has been working on our case now for a couple of years. He has always been very professional as well as his team. He has provided several angles that he hopes to approach this case with. It does get a bit frustrating at times as it can take a while for him to sort through the mountain of data, and sometimes it takes us a little while to get him some of the data that he needs. But I can see that he and his team are doing their best and are trying to get this corrected, for which we are extremely grateful. Thank you for all that you have done so far and all the work you will continue to do. Goodbye.
Okay, this is a recorded survey interview with our client, Mrs. Alicia L., in regard to our legal investigative work and help for our client's case. All right, and Mrs. Alicia L., I want to start by thanking you truly for for taking the time to have this survey interview with me. I mean that. I thank you for that. As for our legal investigative work done so far for your case, simply, if someone were to ask you at this time, how satisfied are you with our help or with our work on this CPS case, how would you describe it?
A 1 out of 10, I would say a 15.
Wow.
That y'all have, everybody else I've asked for help for has either turned me away or not wanted to because of fear of what, DHR and CPS does. And y'all have worked with me and stood beside me, and y'all have done more than anybody else has done at all or wanted to do. Y'all are amazing.
Well, thank you so much. That really means a lot. It truly does. Is it also true that among our investigative findings, one of our directives was to secure evidence and prepare that evidence of neglect, malpractice, and or civil wrongs done against at least one psychologist involved with this case, where we now have the Alabama Board of Examiners in Psychology fully involved and that has appointed their investigative committee to seek that evidence against that mental health practitioner who is licensed under them. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And in my request for you to file a complaint to them against this practitioner, did you also mention that your state licensed private investigator fully supports the complaint after our examination of evidence involving that practitioner?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. And do you feel good knowing that there is now an actual true and very real chance of that complaint producing even more evidence which may merit the filing of a civil suit?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. I do too. And doesn't it, no matter lawsuit or no lawsuit, doesn't it feel very good knowing that this mental health practitioner is at least being legally held accountable for his actions?
Yes,
for her actions.
It makes me feel like my voice is being heard about the situation and kind of it getting light shown to what's going on instead of just being, nobody listening. And it feels good just to be heard.
Exactly. And it's great. I think it's a good feeling to know that this psychologist now must take time out from her busy work schedule in life to comply, right? To comply, just like CPS forces parents to lose work and enjoyment of life by forcing all sorts of unnecessary compliances on them.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you agree that it's a pretty decent case of legal justice already, just for this person now to have to really face, be accountable for her actions.
Yes.
Which is it just clearly comes, it just clearly is on the table as being as unfair. We find that, you found that, you agreed with it, and it's just, now I'm blessed that we're in a area here in a directive that looks like we could possibly, get some legal justice,
right?
Even more, good possible results with that. So I want to thank you, ma'am, for this meeting and for this survey. All right, and just look at my notes one more time. All right, this will be the end of the survey, end of the meeting. I want to thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, so here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, this is a recorded interview with our client, Miss Cynthia B. And I want to start by saying thank you, Miss B, Cynthia, for giving us this interview at this time. With your case, to let others out there know the types of things that we are capable of developing with our client's case for the benefit of our client's case. All right, and in this interview with you for now, I want to discuss 3 key points of evidence that we have documented of this case and believe can benefit this case, and they are: number 1, when I attended the recent Zoom hearing with you, I later reported to you that I found clear evidence of the judge, Bernard J. Sarley, spelled Sarley, violating our client's right to due process. And number 2, violating the laws of Article 4 of the United States Constitution, which, from my research from various dependable resources, describe this law in that it outlines the relationship between the various states, as well as the relationship between each state and the United States federal government. The law that I've read stated the full faith and credit clause requires states to extend full faith and credit to the public acts, records, and court proceedings of proceedings of other states. That's what it says. That's in the law book. I didn't come up with that. Here is a statement regarding this constitutional law made by constitutionallawreporter.com. The full faith and credit clause ensures that no matter the differences among state laws, those laws are still respected in other states. So I'm going to assume that's how most judicial professionals, scholars, they interpret it also. So that's what it says. Okay, so let's talk about number 1, violation of due process of law. Okay, I have noted the statements made by this judge, where after I fully stated to him live in that Zoom hearing and on that court record that I was a state licensed private investigator, which I am, and even read the state statute number that authorized me to legally investigate, to secure evidence and prepare that evidence for my client to be used in legal, civil, or criminal cases, and therefore was present to testify to that evidence that I was in part or whole responsible for its securing, that you, Miss Cynthia B., wanted to present to the court. Okay, do you remember me stating those things to the judge?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. All right, and do you remember the personnel of CPS then acting in opposition to my presence in the hearing? Where I believe it was CPS's legal counsel who also stated essentially that I was not a party to the case and therefore should not be present since it's a confidential case. You remember that?
That was Emily O'Brien. Yes.
Okay. And so would you agree that it looks like CPS is trying hard to pretend that they are perhaps they are only allowed to have their legal investigator or caseworker to be present in court to testify to evidence, even though those legal practitioners are also not parties to the case?
Right. I agree.
Isn't that amazing? Are those your beliefs also, and do you think that's fair?
No, I do not think it's fair. A lot of things that the judge himself has done within my case have been unfair, including trying to redefine what the meaning of hearsay is and stating medical documentation is hearsay as well.
Totally understand that. All right, thank you. And now let's talk about law and or rights violation number 2, that we have secured and prepared evidence for you as our client.
Mm-hmm.
All right, as I stated to the judge, and at the same time in the court recording, in that court hearing, that I was a fully licensed and authorized by state law that regulated my license to be hired to legally investigate to secure evidence and of its preparation for my client's civil or criminal case of any kind. The judge then subsequently, whether on his own decision and or in part or whole by the request of CPS's lawyer, he then ordered me to A, turn my investigative file over to your newly court-appointed attorney.
Right.
Right.
And to
That
the
was
well,
that was right. That was literally appointed to you during that same hearing.
Right.
While I've been legally working with you on this case from September 15th, 2022 to the day of that hearing to be October 14th, 2022.
Right.
Right. Which is essentially a month before this new attorney even started.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct. And I believe the prosecutor also tried to object as well. And Annette Thorpe.
And so do you, Miss Cynthia B, agree with and identify with these statements I'm making so far?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And did I first still mention did I first actually ask for your permission before emailing your new court-appointed attorney with the contents of your case file?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and in your honest opinion, why do you believe that I asked for your permission first before obeying this unruly judge's order, namely to divulge your case file information with a third party? Why do you think I did that?
I think it was to also show that that everything I had hired you to do was very legal, and you wanted to make sure you were being transparent as well, and also showing that you have my best interest by asking for my permission to release that information.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for knowing that, and that's because my client comes first before anything I find that's going to be against my client unlawfully. Thank you for knowing that. All right, and do you feel that I am more interested in protecting and helping my client to benefit with their case results, much more than I'm concerned with what consequences that may exist, if any, that I may face from disobeying an unruly judge's orders?
Yes, I do. I think they're used to trying scare tactics and taking advantage of people and trying to create fear so that it causes them to not want to call them out on all their wrongdoings and illegal actions.
Totally agree with you. All right, and I truly thank you for your honest opinion. Okay, and so the first violation that I found of this judge in violating Article 4 of the United States Constitution, the full faith and credit clause, is by this Judge Bernard J. Sarli, but I think they really meant to give him the last name Bernard J. Sorry.
Right.
But anyway, the judge made an order that literally would violate the state statutory laws that regulate my professional license.
Right.
Which absolutely prohibit the unauthorized divulging of confidential case information to anyone whomsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So in our cases, we place every single person associated with our client's CPS case under our investigation, which absolutely also includes any attorney working for our client, be it court appointed or paid, for seeking evidence and case preparation against them for all sorts of possible law and or ethics violations, including but not limited to willful ineffectiveness, breaching the client's trust, such as having inappropriate communications with the opposition of the case, and likewise, why would we want that pretend lawyer to learn about our investigative evidence and investigative plans and strategies for our client's case when our client wouldn't even trust that pretend lawyer to not literally betray our client with using that information against our client, such as tipping off anyone we have under investigation, such as a psychologist who is expected to conduct a psychological evaluation of our client. Right? We wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
There's no interest for us to do that against our client's will. So would you agree? Go ahead.
It's also interesting when an appointed public defender is very concerned with asking if you're recording them and that they're giving their non-consent when
that
they
with that
seem
latest conversation he had with you, right? That you told me about.
And then here I am sitting in a completely different state, completely jurisdiction that does allow one-party consent. And quite frankly, I didn't feel I had to tell him the honest truth that he was being recorded. Because
but you even did that just out of courtesy, just hoping this person is going to be ethical and respect that you're doing it simply for legitimate reasons. But instead, it's like it turns around and stings you like a wasp.
Oh, he started to become very unprofessional in his tone, yelled at me in a breakout room during our court session and wanted to remove himself from my case because he wanted to approach my case a different way than I did and tried to call it a conflict. And so I forced him through the judge to keep him on, but inevitably he still fought it the way he wanted to and caused me to lose the case anyway.
So would you agree that those are very important and practical reasons why it's very important to have a state licensed, legal, highly specialized, namely one with enough integrity not to betray or let down his or her own client, private investigator to help those clients with their CPS cases?
I agree. And many times I asked him to have you involved and he acted as if he never received those emails. He would not answer yes or no when it was a phone conversation. So he deliberately would avoid these questions.
Thank you, Mrs. B. And so do you, Miss Cynthia B., agree with and identify with these statements I'm making so far?
I absolutely do. And speaking of, violations, I've also noticed throughout my case that my First, Fourth, Fifth, and 14th Amendment rights have been violated consistently throughout this case. I've also been deliberately lied about in service plan paperwork that I had never seen, that I only got the first set of eyes a day or two before my court case or before a court session, which claimed a statements as well about me that were brought into court.
Okay, thank you. And may I ask, going by my actions in this case, such as asking for your permission before accommodating this reckless judge's demands to hand over our state-protected confidential information to someone else, what are your feelings about my level of care, integrity, and protection of my client's case?
I feel that your level was very high level. You had no problem letting the judge know that he was speaking out of his jurisdiction. And there were times where he visibly appeared flustered because he realized he had no control over the situation and that inevitably it could come back at him in a civil court case.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Cynthia B. That means a lot to me. I mean that. Thank you. I really do. Thank you. And so the great Judge Bernard Sari, and I'm sorry, but that is just too fitting for his name.
It really is.
I had to speak with him directly, did I not? And it wasn't very pleasant to see somebody showing that he's really not in it for justice.
Right.
There's some ulterior thing going on in his workings, but it's not going by the clearly what we're finding. You and I, he's not going by the books here apparently.
Because they know
and we're not. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an attorney, but we're finding evidence that's just handing that right on the table, right?
Right.
Okay, so let me so he literally had the nerve to also order me to not only violate a state statute that holds serious consequences against me if violated, but he then also ordered that I, and I will quote, not retain a copy of this file, meaning our own investigative file and work product. Right. And I'm sure you believe that as from what I mentioned to you, you probably would agree that is completely unlawful from the laws I've mentioned, that it violates of my own professional license.
I completely. Right.
Now, this again, I find is clear and convincing evidence of this judge recklessly violating Article 4 of the United States Constitution, the full faith and credit clause, by, again, willfully ignoring and rejecting actual state statutory laws of another state, which requires me to retain case files for several years for the purpose of, if the state ever needs to become involved, while even then we are still afforded powerful rights to limit their inspection of our case files, as they are designated by statutory law to be 100% confidentially protected, just the same as the attorney-client privilege. That's what we're granted. Well, we got the license. It's not easy to get, but we got it. It's not as the license, the state license. It affords all these protections. And the judge, clearly he's not going by the respect of the other states' laws and appreciating those protections that are on the statutory law books. All right, Mrs. B. Thank you. And if go,
his lackadaisical or his attempt at his rulings were because he knows he's retiring in less than 2 weeks.
Exactly, and that's telling to me, to you. I know that's just remarkably telling, the way for him to particularly be this reckless at this point of time with his future agenda. Mrs. B, thank you. And also, if you recall, another thing that this careless judge stated in that Zoom hearing, that it would be okay for me to work with your new court-appointed attorney. Did he not say that?
Yes, he did. At my attorney's
on the case, right? So long as it's okay with him.
Right. And my attorney, as many times as I asked him, would never address that or state that he would allow that, even though many times I expressed that I wanted you to be able to work with him and supply evidence and have it brought into court. He denied that he even received these emails, and I reminded him that an email is a paper trail and that he was in fact lying. The same thing with securing witnesses for my defense, which he never did as well.
All right, thank you. Exactly.
Yeah.
So do you remember the judge making those statements?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you. And so let me ask your opinion. How on earth would I be able to work with your new court-appointed attorney if I were to cower down to this judge's unlawful order to not retain a copy of our own case file? I mean, is that not a complete contradiction to having me no longer retain a copy of my own case file than to be expected to continue working with this newly court-appointed attorney?
Right. And he even said he wanted you to destroy any other kinds of proof you may have, even though we told him it was digital. Oh, well, you have to get rid of it all.
Thank you, Mrs. Cynthia B. I honestly believe that beyond strong evidence of judicial error, you may also agree of that actually testing the boundaries of ludicrous.
Yes, very much so. The demands were very ludicrous. They made no sense, and it goes to show that they're afraid of being caught.
I believe that. All right. So for this point, we are obviously planning to use our investigative findings with our client to seek legal justice against this judge and the CPS department, namely their lawyer, who should know that the law does not support her ill persuasions to the judge to try to eliminate me from my work in helping my client with her case and with violating rights of due process.